But yeah, like I said, if you wanna introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do, we'll go from there.
Okay. You ready to start it?
Yeah, 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 we'll roll.
Okay. So my name is Gary Martinez Jr., and I've been a fitness trainer since 2012. I started at the YMCA. And to take a step back real quick, you have to, before you become a trainer, you have to go somewhere to the gym and complete your hours. So I was given all these classes to take, and I was thinking I was going to train athletes because I've been an athlete myself. But what happened was a class I took, Silver Sneakers, was a class that helps older adults be able to do exercise with lightweight equipment such as a sponge ball right here and various other equipment. So when I saw the passion that these people came in with, I mean, it didn't matter if they came in with the oxygen tank or in a wheelchair. These people were ready to get action so they can uh, have their daily life of being independent.
Mhm.
And that just kind of turned me on to I started working with 2014 older adults because I was inspired by them. And then I learned that by modifying exercises so everyone is included, that since I'm an autism parent myself and my daughter's autistic, I was like, I want to do this for our community now. So I used a lot of those tools that I learned in those classes, and I even took workshops. And now I became an independent fitness trainer working with autistic people. So been doing that, like I said, since 2014, and it's more or less kind of part time right now. And I take pride in helping out our community, giving back. Um, and then also as a parent, to be an active parent with my daughter, with my son. They're both great kids, and my life is pretty simple. I like to hike a lot. I'm pretty obsessed, and I've been exercising myself since about age 12. And basically, I just like to give back and help others so they can, be happy in their life, and this can be a tool that can help them with all their transitions with their daily routine.
Awesome. So, I know you said I think you said you started out working with, older adults, and then I think you said now you're working with people with autism. Do you still work with is it both, or is it kinda one or the other, or
It's just autistic people right now.
okay.
So that is my target population. I just love working with our population because it's a little different. Because when you're in the
Yeah.
gym, it's kind of like, okay, warm up. We want to do this X amount of times. But with us, it's a little more creative because I got to accommodate their needs. So they come first. Therefore, they are the teacher. So one of my clients, our warm up is walking around the entire gym 2 times, and we're talking about his favorite subjects of life. It could be Super Mario Brothers. It could be something he's building on Minecraft, and just having a conversation that gets him into the moment, that he's feeling good, that we're laughing. He's sharing other funny things that he likes to do that's important to him, and I get to learn that information and retain it, so I can make sure
Mhm.
I'm doing my job to keep that conversation going, and it sparks me to ask other questions about other interests. So our workout is that part in the beginning, and then we do our regular stretches, and we're continuing those fun conversations. So basically, in a nutshell, we are having fun, having conversations about favorite things in his life. And then we do the exercises where we're on the gym floor doing a machine, for example, and I'm setting up all the things on the machine so it's at the right height, the right weight, and to coach him on what to do. And then he likes me to participate. So he does his
Hmm.
exercise, and then I have to turn around because he has to make the adjustments. So it's a surprise. So I sit down, I don't know what to expect. One time it
Yep.
may be no weight on there, and he says, I want you to push really hard. So I'm pushing really hard, and I'm about to shoot out of the seat because he put no weight on. And then sometimes he
Yep.
puts on all the weight and I can't budget. So for us with that session, it's about having that fun enjoyment that makes him happy. And at the same time, he's getting his exercise as well. So it's kind of like a total body brain connection and all other components involved. And that's just one example of just how much fun it is to work with our population because everyone's different and they're
Mhm.
all very unique. amazing people.
Well, I think I like that because I think just the environment for the gym is intimidating to a lot of people, and if you can basically not minimize the environment, but if you can make it where it's more, I guess maybe interactive or enjoyable, I think that'll keep more people in the gym, because I mean, I hear a lot of people say that like when they get in for the first time or the first couple times or whatever, they're very nervous. They don't know what to expect. There's a lot of, new things going on. But yeah, I think if you can understand the environment like that, I think that'll really be beneficial to
Yeah,
people.
because exactly what you said, because just for people in general, being new going to a gym is can be very intimidating with all the factors,
Mhm.
whatever it is that they're feeling, and especially people watching them and they're not so sure on, how if they're doing something correctly or not. And then for us in the autism world, it's also like you said, the environment. So there's other things that go into that for us. It could be, are the lights too bright? Is there too much noise? Is there too much people around? Is there basically too many unpredictable things? And they're like the smell of the gym, just a lot of those factors can overwhelm us. So by
Mhm.
coming in and knowing that we know each other and that we built a rapport, that can kind of help distract a lot of those factors in the environment where we're feeling comfortable. And since I know about those factors, that's the other thing, is to know things like that to help your client adjust is very key. So, he could walk in, I can say, it's a little bit noisy in here today, just to let you know, so we can make like a fine adjustment.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Um, because as you're saying all this, what this makes me think of is like fitness is not a one size fits all. It doesn't like it's not like the same thing that works for everybody else is going to work for everybody else. Uh, and there's just I don't know. There's so many different ways to do it. There's so many different ways to like lift weights or like do cardio. Excuse me. And you just really have to kind of like find out what works for you. I feel like.
Yeah, so like you said, everyone's a little bit different, and our kind of changed to a different client where we wanted to do a push up, and
Mm,
but we had low muscle tone. So low muscle tone is kind of like, like a lack of strength and other components, fatigue, etc. So we could barely bend our elbow, like maybe like a half inch in the beginning. But with the two key things that I like to say that is important in our world is patience and understanding. So with our patience and understanding, I understood that this could be a nice little challenge for us to accomplish. So what we did versus the normal push-up, where of course we're feet and hands on the floor like that, we went to a staircase and we went one, two, three, four, fourth step. Put our hands right there. We're at a different angle, so it makes it easier to do a push-up, and we started
mm,
right there to practice push-ups. And then over time, probably a couple years, so patience and understanding, that we're
yeah.
able to progress to like step number two and then so forth. But it's just about, supporting the people that you're working with, and that we both trust each other. And that kind of opens the doors for us to build that rapport and continue that rapport. And then before you know it, we're like, whoa, I'm doing a push up and I'm down on step two or whatever. Wow, and I can bend my elbow as far as I need to, and I can finish with my arms straight. And it's progress. So it's good to see your clients doing that work, doing it what it takes, being devoted, and then sharing that moment together.
Yeah, man, that progression, like you can look back over time and like see your progress. I think that's really beneficial too, for people. Like I always tell people if they can, like really try to take before and after pictures. Well,
Hmm.
after as if it ever stops, but before pictures at least. That way you can kind of judge your progress. And also if you write down too, like, when I started, I was doing this amount of weight for this many times or whatever. I think that gives you like it's like momentum that keeps like motivates you, because you can look back and you can measure it over time. And I think that's really cool. I think when I started working out, I couldn't even do like 2 pull-ups.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then now I do like 15 as part of my warm up, and that happened over like a 5-year period. Um,
Yes.
so it's just I don't know, and I think also too it like fitness really teaches you about your body. It teaches you like really like body awareness, because you don't really know what your body is capable of until you put it into a gym and you're lifting weights. And like, sometimes you might think that you're injured, but it's just like a soreness or whatever. And
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just like, I think the body awareness is like a big thing that I remember like learning about my body like that. Like, what could I do? How do I recover? What again, what works for me? Like what fitness style works for me? Um, and I don't know. I think that's really important.
Oh man, you said it so good with that awareness word, and I'll come back to that in a second because first you said keeping track of those accomplishments by taking pictures, by journaling. That's so huge
Hmm.
because now we have that memory, we have that progress, we know we put in that work, and it's a story that we can bring back. So for us, a lot of times it's good to have positive stories because if we're having like an off day and it could kind of trigger us, and then the environment could make that more. It's always good
Hmm.
to say, "Hey, remember that one time?" Like if I see perhaps my daughter a little not feeling the best, remember that one time you did this, and you go into that story, then it puts that positivity of that energy into their headspace, and it can turn that frown upside down, and it's just a big game changer right there. Yeah, so we've done that. I've done that with my clients where, log stuff to kind of to track the progress, to see the adjustments, to have the pictures. So yes, definitely done that. That's a good tool. And then the awareness part, oh my God, I'm so glad you brought that up because in our world, body awareness is huge. So some people, especially with sensory needs, they so the hand is the furthest extension on the upper body, and of course the feet are the furthest extension on the lower body. So I know for my daughter in the very beginning stages of her life, we couldn't always feel our hands and feet were there. So one of our first interventions was occupational therapy. And I fell in love with that world because occupational therapy is the therapist teaches and shows based on our what we need, all these different fun type of activities. So our body awareness at that time and to this day, for her, her favorite activity that leads into doing other things is swinging. So we got the body awareness of swinging with that momentum of feeling my body's here. And then we would do exercises for the hands and the feet because we were scared to walk on the earth in the early stages of life because we were a toe walker and the uneven surfaces of the earth was pretty scary. So the therapist showed us things to do. And then later I kind of brought my fitness flavor into it. And then we added role play as my daughter lives in the 24/7 Disney world. So that makes it even more fun. So if we're doing a movie scene of a movie that she likes, like Frozen, for example, with the two sisters, Elsa and Anna, and the evil character Hans and so forth, I was making play scenarios with things I learned from occupational therapy and some of the fitness world. And sometimes it didn't matter where it was, because if you got it in your head and you know what to do, you can do it anywhere. So at the park, for example, really quickly, we would swing first. That's kind of the warm up. So we got the body awareness. We started singing. So add singing to swinging. That's just more body and brain connection. Then we get down, and I have to make up a scene like, oh my gosh, there's Hans trying to go after Anna, your sister Elsa. You gonna go save her? Where is he? He's on top of the playground right now. The fastest way is to climb up that. So we're doing an exercise now, right? We're climbing, we're getting some work to our hands and upper body and so forth. Oh my gosh, Hans is so quick. He grabbed Anna and he took her down the slide. Now I need you to go down the slide. So basically we're just making a lot of transitions, but it's all activity. It's important to her to save the sister because we added that element of role play and then exercise all into one. So it's just a lot of brain body connection at one time. So the more the merrier. I say it kind of lights us up like a Christmas tree with lights on a Christmas tree that lights it all up. Kind of does the
Sure.
same thing with the body and brain working together. And it just makes for another creative, fun way to get exercise and activity.
Yeah. I like that, man. I think the power of story is like really powerful. Like, what like especially when we embody a story like that. Like you're talking about your daughter embodying this story. Do you think she would have like anxiety without that story? Would she have anxiety or some sort of resistance, like going through the slide and the wall and everything
Oh yeah,
with
because
the
in the
resistance?
very yes, sir. Because in the beginning, and I'll just go a step back real quick. In the beginning, when we were diagnosed with autism and other things, sensory processing disorder, ADHD, I as a parent didn't know what to do, so I was scared, I was helpless, I felt like the failure type. But then you start to learn, like I said, with intervention and then observing and continuing education. And
Mm,
yes, so it would be more difficult from our experience to just say, hey, go do this,
right.
that we can be stressed out or have anxiety or be overwhelmed because there's no other like security of no other like security to help you go do that task. Like,
Hmm.
because I'm not putting nothing in the headspace first, like talking about what we say a special interest first. So if you use like a special interest first, just like when we work out, you and me, we got to do our warm up first. That helps get the blood flow, the oxygen in the body, the muscles all ready for that program. So for us, special interest is do something first, like perhaps talk about a favorite song like Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball back in the day is what helped my daughter sing her first song first. And then after that, she started speaking in complete sentences because she was nonverbal till age 9. And so it's like perhaps singing a song together first and then say, make the transition smooth and fluid, like, we can sing that song later. Love that song. Love Miley Cyrus. Love the Chipettes version because the Chipettes sang that version, the cartoon girl chipmunks.
Yeah.
And but now let's go. How about we do a little bit exercise together, and then we can come back to that. So it's kind of like a smooth transition. So that takes away the anxiety. That takes away any stress factors. It takes away that it could be overwhelming. So it's good to use that first to transition into other things.
Yeah, man, that's like I don't know. I just that's crazy because we like the power of story. Like this is what I'm trying to say about this. The power of story, like you go through that scenario and you embody, like your daughter embodies this person, Elsa or whoever it is. And it's like once you get through that process, you look back over that and you're like, man, I did that. I did what that character did. Like I don't know about you when you were a kid, but I know a lot of little boys they idolize like superheroes, like
Hmm.
Spider-Man and Superman. And it's like when you embody this story in this thing and you do something that's intimidating, you become that person through that story. But then you look back on it and you're like, man, I just did that thing. This might have been intimidating for
Yeah.
her to go through that process, the slide or whatever it was. But then she looks back on it. She's like, wait, in my mind, it was an imagination, but it was like me that did it. And
Yeah.
it was like, so I don't, that's why I was asking if it was like a fear or an anxiety, because I would imagine that would be a very powerful experience for a person to like do this thing. Because like, I mean, we can apply this to other areas in life too,
Yeah.
like we sometimes we get nervous or afraid of something, but then if we give ourselves a story about it, like, oh well, my hero may do this, and
Yeah.
then we go through with that story, and then we take a step back after it's all said and done. It was like, man, I did that, like I was able to do that. And I don't know. I think that like I think back over on some things in my life, and it's just like it helps me. I think it helps me like build maybe confidence with myself. To just look back over that and be like, well, at one point I didn't think I could do that, but then I tried to do it. Maybe I didn't succeed at first, but then I did. And I don't know. It's just really empowering.
It is because, man, now you're taking me back to my childhood. So as a former military brat, we moved back from Australia to the US in the
Mhm.
early 80s, and we only had one channel in Australia. So when I came to the US, I was like, whoa, look at all these channels. And it was just like you said, man. I saw things that were attractive to me, and for me it was Superman, was one of the big ones. Got into Batman later, but Superman was kind of like my favorite right there. But more so, I got really into Sylvester Stallone movies. So at that time, there was
Mm.
Rocky 3. So for me, it was Rocky 3 because my dad had to do a lot of solo assignments. So I didn't always get to see my father because he was doing his job to put food on the table. So
Mhm.
I found something else. I found Rocky, I found Rambo. And actually, honestly, watching Rocky actually inspired me to want to work out. So for me, my story was that was the introduction. And then at that time, we were renting a house and we had a half garage. And at that time, there was two magazines, Muscle and Fitness and Flex magazine. So I would read the articles and I would cut out the pictures and stick them in the garage and use my weight bench and kind of self teach myself. And got the weight stuck on my chest a lot. I had to find out how to take it off. But that was my introduction. It was kind of scary, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to uh, change my physique and to look and feel better. So I did that, and now I can go back into what David Goggins calls a cookie jar. And I can go back and to bring
Yeah.
out stories like, hey, I remember when I was 12 years old, I was scared to do these exercises, but I wanted to do
Mhm.
them, and I did them. So right now, I want to do something that's different. That's exercise, but I know I can do it because I've been there and I've done that. But an obstacle,
Mhm.
and it's all about not giving up and using that momentum from past memories to look back for a moment and then look forward and to move straight ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% it, man. And I think it's like, I think the more we do that, the more we have that we can look back on and refer to, you know? Uh, I don't know. I guess it's just like the thing is maybe doing it for the first time or doing something new for the first time or doing whatever that scary thing is for the first time. But it's like, man, once you do that, even if you don't succeed, you got through the fear of doing it, you know? So it's going to be the next thing might be a little easier to overcome that fear. Um, I think so many of us get paralyzed by fear, and it's like I get it. I think it's there to protect you, but
Hmm.
at the same time, I think we make up a lot of these things that
Yeah.
we fear. You know, we make up a lot of the fear in our head. This episode is brought to you by Excel Coaching Academy. Hey guys, I'm really excited to let you know that I started a mindset coaching business. So, what I want to do with this business is I want to help entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, leaders, and fitness enthusiasts or athletes develop the right mindset to increase revenue, improve business or performance, and overcome the challenges needed to become the best version of themselves. You can get more information about this by emailing info@excelcoaching.academy.
Exactly. And I'll go right here real quick. This is perfect timing. So on the Super Bowl, we just had the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
I had zero running training. I signed up for the Super Half Marathon in Colorado Springs. So I wore
Mm.
my ripped jeans because I'm a Gen Xer, and I ran it spontaneously like 2 days before. Signed up. I was like, no fear, no pressure. I'm going to do it because I'm confident that I'm a hiker, and I'm confident that all these hikes and now and into the past being consistent is going to be enough to condition me to get through it. I'm not worried about my time. I just want to go out there and have fun and finish. So I did the race. I said, if I can get to that halfway mark, because that's where they turn you around, then I know I got this. So I did it. I only took one drink of water from the aid stations. And then when I saw that clock at the end, I was like, oh my gosh. Um, I just qualified for a race I just signed up for this morning, by the way, the Pikes Peak
Mhm.
Ascent. And that's what I really wanted to do. So I overcame that fear of like, I'm not a runner no more. I just don't want to run, but I want to just do it to see if I finish, because if I so happen can qualify with the time that they need, and then I'm going to do something else that I want. But I had to accomplish this obstacle I didn't want to actually do first. So now I qualify for the Pikes Peak Ascent, which is a 13.1 mile race up to the top of Pikes Peak, 14,115 feet. And
Wow.
it's the second hardest half marathon in the world. And I'm going to do it now in September because I qualified. I did something I didn't want to do, uncomfortable, out of my zone, and put no pressure on myself because I just believed in myself. And now I'm going this direction. And I'm confident in this too because I've hiked it last year. So I know what it takes to
Mhm.
hike it. But now I got to up up the pace.
Yeah.
And so now I'm
Yeah, for
going
sure.
to apply more training towards that because it's the one that's right here in town. It's that mountain.
Mm.
So yeah, you have to
Man,
overcome the fear and just look at it like it's an obstacle and get creative to figure out what can I do to overcome the obstacle. Whether you overcome it or not, because they're just going to keep coming in life. It's about
Yeah.
being all in with 2 feet and to be vulnerable, do whatever it takes.
Hmm.
And as long as you're doing whatever it takes, you're going to sleep good at night knowing that, and it's going to be a success either way. So it's kind of how I see it when I have those.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. I mean, these things are going to happen like regardless. Like you're going to have something else to worry about or some other problem's going to come up. So I don't know. I think like getting over that, I think like just getting through the problem is not the right way to look at it. I think it's becoming the person who can handle that, who can overcome that fear or that who can handle that problem. Because man, if you just go through life and you're just trying to, get through one problem after the other, that's going to be stressful. But if you become a person who's like resilient and you can handle that fear or overcome it or whatever, and just I don't know, I think that's a whole different thing. I think that's two different things.
Yeah, and that's kind of the journey with autism. Being an autism parent is we got a lot of obstacles because we do need extra support with challenges, and it's like kind of like earlier, we've been there, done that, going through them. It's just built us a stronger, it's just made us a stronger person, and we've just gained more wisdom and knowledge. So whenever the next thing comes that we have to do, we know we got what it takes, and we are going to, we're going to figure it out. We always get through it. We don't quit, and we're always there for each other. And doesn't matter how long it's going to take. We're going to accomplish that, and that's pretty much what we've done our whole life is just not give up and to do things together. And it makes you get so creative because our world is so
Mm.
unpredictable. At any second, something can happen. So you got to
Yeah.
be prepared. You got to adapt. You got to adjust. You got to be ready 24/7. That if something throws off my child, you're not going to shower. If you got to go somewhere out the door, you're out the door. It could be at any time
Mhm.
in the morning. We've been through all that. So you just got to have that mentality that no matter what, we're going to get, we're going to solve the problem. Um,
You mentioned a good word there, which was adapt, and I think that's something that's really important. Because I think flexibility is really, one of the traits that allows us to succeed and live a fulfilling life. Because there's of course nothing wrong with being disciplined or having a goal or having a direction, but man, the path along that might change,
yeah,
many times on that journey. And I think if we get too focused on like doing a specific thing one way or taking a specific path, we might lose the ultimate goal, which is like the end destination of where we want to go. And I don't know. I think adaptability and flexibility are really, really important, for getting whatever this thing is. I talk a lot about businesses on here, building businesses and stuff like that. And um there's just, I don't know, even in business or fitness, even with like raising families, there's so many factors that you just can't really factor in. There's the outside world, there's
yeah,
there's elements, there's finances and stuff, there's everything. And I think you really have to be able to kind of maneuver through some of that stuff, while staying dedicated to the ultimate vision. And I don't know, I think that's hard for a lot of us.
yeah. That's some good information right there. It's like, yep, you just really got to make sure you hold down what you can, which is inside your closed doors. That's something that you can control. And kind of off subject a tad, but inside of closed doors is how you run the life. You can control that, and being a parent, you can show your kids what you want them to see, like happiness and your actions, not just always the words that you say. So they get that more or less instilled in them. So then when they do
Mhm.
have to go out the door into the world, they have that wisdom inside that they've seen with their own eyes. And that way, they're kind of armored when they do walk out the door a little bit to face the unpredictable parts of the world. And then you can use, just like you said, you can apply everything to everything. Like you can apply your fitness consistency to perhaps your business, where I'm consistent in my fitness. I care about that. I care about myself. Same thing with my business. I care about my business. I care about growing it. I care about opening all these doors to make connections, to collaborate, to work on my products and so forth, whatever that may be. You're going to put that same effort into that bucket, and everything
Mhm.
and everything else. It's just you gotta take all that knowledge you have from one thing and just pour it into everything else.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm looking at the upload over here,
Uh-huh.
and your video is not uploading. But we're still connected, so I'm kind
Okay.
of puzzled on this.
Oh,
You
okay.
got are you connected to internet or data or anything?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why it says 0% uploaded. I'm streaming to a couple places right now, but I don't know if I will be able to. Let me see. I don't know if I can download. I just don't want it to be, that we lose your track.
Okay.
Um, but like I said, it is streaming to the places it's supposed to, but for whatever reason, it says yours is not uploaded, or it's not uploading, because the way this works is the way Riverside works is it uploads as we're talking,
Yes.
and then it splices the two together. Does it show you anything on your end, like how far along it is?
It says 31 minutes, 45 seconds, 99% on the top left screen.
Okay, is that your screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Well,
Maybe
I
it's
mean
maybe
that's
it's some.
that's it's actually showing those numbers on your screen. On my circle, it's showing 99% in just the bars of me as I'm speaking.
Okay, so it shows 99 on both sides.
Yes.
Okay, okay, yeah, it must be on my end then. I'm not sure. Um, okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we had that. Uh, yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry to
That's a good
derail the
catch.
conversation there.
You see how you made your
Uh,
adjustment right there and made a catch.
yeah. Well, it's crazy, man, because I don't just the technology we have. It's just like I appreciate it and it works well when it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And
Hmm.
so, I talk a lot about Zoom to people. Like I don't use Zoom for podcasting. Some people use Zoom, but I've actually had several situations where I was a guest on someone else's podcast and we did the whole thing. And then they came back to me and was like, "Man, I don't know what happened, but I don't have the file. It's just like it
Hmm.
disappeared." But Riverside's pretty good. Riverside, they have a backup, like a cloud backup.
Yes.
So, but like I said, it's Riverside is built specifically for podcasting. So I think so it should work out. But yeah, so we were talking about adaptability and just kind of maneuvering through life, these different obstacles and stuff, kind of like what we just did.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know, man. I just I guess because I talk a lot about like people believing in themselves and kind
Hmm.
of like proving themselves to themselves. Um, but sometimes I feel like that first step is just like the hardest. Once you get through that first step, then you're able to take the second step, like you mentioned with the marathon that you're
Hmm.
that you're doing. Signing up for the thing was probably harder than, well, not physically harder than the training, but you see what I'm saying? It was a
Yes.
mental barrier there that
Yes.
you had to get over, and now it's just a fact of like training for it and just doing it. Uh, but but once you do this, you go through it, whether, I mean, it's not really about the time that you make or whatever,
Hmm.
but it's like after you do all this, you'll be able to look back on that and be like, man, I did that.
Hmm.
Um, and so you mentioned, because I noticed the thing and it kind of got me off track. After I was talking about adaptability, you were talking about what were you saying? Because I wanted to say something about that, and this thing threw me off. I was talking about adaptability, and you were saying what about like family and stuff. You mentioned something about family, and it
Um.
made me think of something. I forgot
Well,
it anyway.
I know. Just what I was saying. If you're thinking about behind closed doors, how you can control that environment and kind of armor ourselves before we head out the door, where it's very unpredictable. That as long as you have that wisdom and just preparing
Oh
yourself
yeah,
for the day, basically preparing yourself for the day. Like, I mean, that could be anything. Like before we hopped on here, I did my
yeah,
stretching. That's part of my daily routine. I have something to eat. I need that energy to have for, the day.
yep,
There's things like that. I have to put up my bed. Just simple things like that that actually go a long way, because I take that to like a work environment. I make sure I do this and this at work, and it's like the little simple things. I push in my chair. I do this. I do that.
mhm,
I do the work. Just small things can lead to bigger things as far as your success. And then again, like you said, how you are with yourself, believing in yourself, loving yourself. All that has to come first before you can go into anywhere else in life every day.
yeah, yeah. That made me think about like being grounded with yourself, like
Hmm.
being grounded in who you, I think that's really important because, I mean, you're right. That stability, like before you go walk out of the door, before you go into a call or a meeting or whatever it is, like just that stability in who you think you are and how you see yourself is really important. Um, because man, there's a lot of things in life that will like test you on that,
Hmm.
like a lot of things just, and I feel like if you don't have that solid sense of like who you are and how you feel like you should proceed with that thing, it's like, well, if you can't tell yourself that, that obstacle might tell you how you should be, and of
Hmm.
course that means that you're not really going to be yourself. You're just going to be swayed by the problem or whatever it is you're trying to do, the outside world.
Right.
And I think it's just really important to have that connection with yourself and say, you know what, I have, whether it's these, beliefs or standards or values or whatever it is for myself, and this is what I'm basing like my decision on. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and then something I do too, because I had learned, I think it's about 2 years now, that I too do have some neurodivergent traits. So I'm on my own little self-discovery journey myself, learning more about that. Is that one thing I like to do is to keep my word to myself. Like I say, I'm going to do
Mm,
something, I have to do it,
yep.
because if I can keep my word to myself and have that integrity, then people are going to trust me because I'm going to keep my word to them. And then another thing I
Hmm.
do to myself is I do self-talk. Like I know, like for my daughter, for example, and some not all, because everyone's different. In our world of autism, a lot of people do self-talk to kind of help cope themselves, to calm themselves, to self-regulate themselves. So for me, I do a lot of soft talk, even when I'm in nature, because when I'm in nature on a hike, it's actually the best time for me to self-talk, because I'm in
Mm,
nature. Nature is going to embrace you. When you're in nature, everything's alive, the trees, the rocks, and you got to focus on the different turf of the trail. So you're getting all these elements, positive elements, and you're even more into the moment. So I have a lot of self-talk with myself, and I'm not worried about if anyone sees me self-talking. So I'm kind of going over things in my mind with myself, just to kind of do like a checklist. Like, okay, I did this. Hey, I'm proud of myself for doing this. Now I'm going to do this, and I'll be honest with myself. Whoops, I need to do a little better at this, so I know what I need to do. Is just being honest with
mhm.
yourself, having a talk like that. I'll do it in nature. It doesn't matter who's around me. I'll do it at home, and I'll talk out loud. I kind of talk out loud to myself so I can hear myself, so I can get it out of my system, out of my headspace, and then put in new information so I know what I want to do next.
Yeah, man, you mentioned that like trusting yourself, like keeping your word to yourself. And I talk about this a lot, but I think that's essentially what self-confidence is like when you learn how to keep your word to yourself, when you learn that you can trust yourself. I think that's basically what self-confidence is. And then when you build that self-confidence with yourself because you keep those promises to yourself, then it's like when you have this self-talk, you can actually listen to the good things that you're saying about yourself. Or like if something happens that's outside of your control, you can actually listen to yourself to say that, it wasn't your fault or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's obviously a group of people who, give themselves excuses for everything and who don't want to do whatever it does needs to be done. And then I've noticed too, there's another group of people who feel like when something happens that's outside of their control, it's like they take that personally and internally, and it's like we those people like beat themselves up a lot
Mm-hmm.
for things that really are not their fault, or they beat themselves up a lot for, you know what, normally when I go to the gym I do this much, but today I'm not really feeling it, so I just didn't have a good workout. But it's like, man, you were there anyways. You
Yeah.
know, you went. That was the most important part, is that you showed up.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're in that group of people who, if we're concerned about, like, you know, giving ourselves an excuse or giving ourselves an easy way out, I think just that awareness in itself shows that we're on the right path. Because if you're concerned about it, if you're saying, hey, you know, I could have done a better job than that or whatever, if you're at least aware of that, I think that shows that you're not giving yourself an excuse or an easy way out, you know. But I don't know. I think that self-talk is critical, because I think we do need to hold ourselves accountable, but I think also too we need to give ourselves we need to be proud of ourselves and give
Yeah.
ourselves grace for the things that we do accomplish. Even though things, like I said, the days that you don't want to go to the gym and you show up anyways, you need to give yourself some grace for that.
Oh yeah, that's a really important one right there, because I mean I am guilty of doing all those things
We, we all
prior,
are,
right?
yeah.
We've all done that. So I'm guilty of the self-sabotage, the beating myself up with words. How did that make me feel? So now that I'm me now in the moment, I reflect on it like that didn't feel good to do that to myself, to treat myself like that. So I'm glad I
Hmm.
turned that, upside down and went the other direction. Where it is like you said, like, oh, I'm sore. I mean, yesterday, for example, really beat me up. I think I don't want to go do this hike, but you know what? I'm in training. I need I
Hmm.
need the training to prepare me for this very tough mountain race. So I'm like,
Yep.
you gotta go. So the hardest thing sometimes is just to get out the door, like you said. But then it's also I tell myself like, hey, be grateful that you woke up and you're here
Hmm.
today. Or right now, today you are alive. I'm breathing.
Yep.
So be grateful for all those things right there. Now I'm out the door. I'm like, it just totally changed my headspace. So I'm out the door. I'm not even going to take the shuttle bus to the trail. I'm going to jog
Mm,
all. So it just motivated me. I needed that
right.
self motivation. So now forget the shuttle bus, man. I'm running to that trail. I'm running a mile to the trail to start the trail. And then sometimes what happens is maybe, yeah, so prior I did feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. My body, so and so, procrastination nation. But when I get there and I got out the door and I turned it around the script and I'm going up the trail, now I'm focusing on just that step in front of me. And I'm
Mm,
happy, man, because I'm making up new techniques to go up the trail, anything that can help me be a little
yep.
better for that training. And
Mhm.
I'm singing to myself, man. I'm in love with the 80s decade, so it's 80 songs in my head. So it's like a fun distraction. And
Right.
I'm doing these techniques where I'm kind of moving and grooving. I'm building a rhythm, but it
Mhm.
is good technique, just so you know. It is good. I know what I'm doing. And before
Yep.
you know it, I get up to the top. I'm looking at my Strava, whatever you call that app. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that. I made it up in this many minutes. And then just a couple of days ago, and I'm 51. Just a couple of days
Mhm.
ago, I went up and down this Manitou incline, and I got it done in 49 minutes and 55 seconds round trip. It's my fastest time yet. And I was like, wow, I was just having fun. But I was in the moment, and I prepared for it by being consistent, and I believe in myself, and I got myself out the door. And once I do that, it's like a switch. I become a different person. I'm happy because I'm proud that
Mhm.
I'm there. I'm doing it. And as a reflection, I had a really good time, and it
Mhm.
felt good. So it made the rest, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of your day.
Yep.
And to throw it into the autism world for a second, a positive experience, no matter what it is, it can stay in the headspace, and it can last all day. It can last the next day and longer. It can last for years. You can go back into that cookie jar, and we bring it back into our world from years ago, and so forth.
Mhm.
And it can help a situation. It can help how
Mm.
you're emotionally feeling at a moment where maybe you're not feeling happy. It just takes you and believing in you, and to remember things that you did, and it creates a better moment for you in the moment.
I think the important thing there is, like when you didn't want to go run or you didn't want to go train, and then you started to do it, and then like I tell people all the time, man, if you don't want to do it and you just start it, you'll probably at some point like just want to finish it.
Yeah.
Like if you ever get to a point where you don't want to work out that day, like just go work out for like half of your workout and tell me that you don't want to finish the rest of it. Like it's just I think once you get started, like you said, it's like a switch that flips. You get that momentum and you're like, oh man, now I feel good because I'm actually doing the thing. And
Yeah.
it's just like it pushes you through it. But again, that first step of like when you don't want to do that thing and you do it anyways, that I think that first step is really what gets you started. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I think the self talk is really, really important. And it's like, because a lot of us, we had to think about, we wouldn't say, sometimes we have conversations with ourselves that we would never say to another person. We
Mhm.
say things to ourselves or whatever that we would never say to another person. And I think at the end of the day, you have people around you, you have friends, you have family, but at the end of the day, you're with yourself 24 hours a day. You're
Mhm.
in your own head 24 hours a day. Um, and like people in the space like David Goggins and those kind of people, like when you talk about self-talk and you talk about David Goggins, like he's like on the extreme end of it.
Mhm.
But though, because in his book he does mention the cookie jar, so
Yeah.
that he does give himself that positive
Mhm.
self-talk too. Like, hey man, you made all these things work, and everything was against you, nobody believed in you, whatever. Um, so even people on the extreme end like that, like they have that positive self-talk,
Mhm.
and obviously, David Goggins has done some crazy stuff in his life, that probably the average person can't do. But yeah, I don't know. It's really important, man. It really is. Um, so I was going to ask you if do you have anything like, do you have any like tips or techniques for people that want to maybe work out that have autism, or maybe parents of people who have autism? Um, do you have any tips or any recommendations for people? Because
Oh.
I know it's probably not a one size fits all,
Mhm.
and there's so many different variations.
Yes, so I had to learn this too, is with the beauty of social media, for example, if you're on Facebook, for us parents is to make sure find like, don't be that yes person where you're like, I see the first group, I'm just gonna join that one. Do a little research, like, type autism, your city, whatever, see what results pop up on Facebook and look through them. Look through the groups and see if you like the groups. Like, is there a lot of, are they posting daily? Is there a lot of engagement on there? Are there subjects that you're talking about? Is there a subject right there? Like you can in the little icon search, you can type fitness trainer or something and see if you see a result where people have recommendations. And that's actually a good place for us is to be in groups like that where it's kind of like a podcast right here. We're having a conversation, but there's a big audience, so a lot of people are seeing it in one shot. So, like in the Facebook group, they can type like fitness trainer if they're looking for that for their kid, like we're talking about, and see results. And therefore, you're getting a lot of results in one post because there's a lot of people in that group. So there's that big audience right there. So those groups are a good tool to use, and that's how I've kind of found some clients for myself, and then so it's good for the parents to look in the groups to get advice from others, to get referrals and suggestions and recommendations. So that's a really good spot to look at.
Okay, okay. Uh, yeah, I think community is like one of the resources for a lot of things that's really overlooked. Especially when you are trying to learn from other people. I talk about social media a lot on the podcast, and I think it has its problems, but it can be really really beneficial to help us learn, connect with other people, and be in environments that you feel like maybe a lot of people don't understand or don't find interesting or whatever it is. If it's like an interest that you have, like there's a Facebook group for everything,
Mhm.
man. Like everything, like
Yes, there is.
cooking or whatever it is, like everything.
Yep.
You know, and I think that is one of the positives of social media is that we can connect with other people like that. Uh, and find people, like I said, who are have similar interests, on similar life journeys, similar paths, because we don't, none of us have it all figured out. I don't think anybody has it figured out, but we're just trying to learn from everybody else who maybe had one other thing than we did figured out, or and maybe we have something figured out they don't, and vice versa. We're just trying to share. But I think that's what it's all about. It's just like this. I think life is like this continuous evolution of like just becoming better and better, whatever that means for us. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, because we're sharing information just like right here, right now on the podcast, and maybe that can spark something to
Mm,
somebody. Like they just needed to hear this, and they heard something during this segment, and it gave them an idea, and now they know
yep.
what to do for their. Just like for me, when I have to do my research and blah blah, like you said on social media or wherever. Sometimes it may not be the subject, but I'm looking at that video or whatever it is, and I can get some.
Hmm.
You can always get something from everything. It doesn't have to be your
Yep.
subject. You can always, like you said, learn every day from something, from someone, from somewhere, and you just got to pay attention, and you'll grab something that that's going to be helpful for you. And then it's also good
Hmm.
to return the favor, to put something out there, whatever it is, because someone's out there looking for help. And if you
For
can
sure.
help, like that one person, and you've done a great job right there to put that energy back into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I love that, man. Um, do you have a website or a social media or anything you want to share while you're here, or anything?
For right now, I have on Facebook, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. It's the same name. Simple Fitness Autism is me.
Okay.
So on those platforms, it's all the same videos, and it's just me doing like a short video of just some type of activity. It could be an exercise, it could be a massage technique or a stretch, something that could be beneficial to our families and our community. Where again, they just got to see that one thing that maybe they're looking for, and it could be right there, or it can give them an idea. So that's my way of giving back, is to share things that have helped us, and to give it back to perhaps that parent that their kid was just diagnosed and they don't know what to do or where to start, and maybe this exercise video can help them. And if they need a little more help about something else, they can always message me. So, that's the beauty of social media right there, is how we use it and how it can help us. So,
Mm,
it comes down to our choice how we use things.
okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For sure.
I'll give you
Um.
one more thing. Can I drop one more thing? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're
Um,
good. You're good.
I have um I've written one book that I'm going to call a book because it's over 100 pages. And then I have
Okay. Yeah.
some others that are very short stories. So under my name, Gary Martinez Jr., but the actual first book is under my original first name, which is John Martinez. But I've never felt like a John, so I've always gone by Gary. I mean, if you type those two names in Amazon, I have some one book and then some short stories that kind of share the journey of somebody living with autism, and just what that looks like. And again, it's something to learn, because there's going to be more people in the world diagnosed with autism. So it's really
Hmm.
good for more people to learn how to accommodate and support their needs in a neurotypical world to help them out.
Okay. Um. Do you know who Sam Mitchell is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
He's in the.
friends.
He's
We're
in
friends
the.
on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. So he's in the podcast space. He's actually a guest. Been on a guest on this show. His um his episode should release next week sometime, I think. Uh, but yeah, I was going to connect you guys if you didn't know each other, because he's in that. I don't know if he's into fitness as much, but he's definitely like he advocates for the autism space. So
Yes, he's pretty active, so I see some of his stuff. So yeah, I have him on there.
okay, yeah, good deal. Um, yeah, man. So one thing that I ask everybody before we close is if you could think of one of the most important lessons you've ever learned. It can be something from your personal life, if you're comfortable sharing it, or your career, or fitness, or anything. What do you think is one of the most valuable lessons you've ever
Um,
learned?
so one thing comes to mind right away is just to not worry about what other people think of you, say about you, and so forth, because your focus is just on you and how you feel
Mm,
about you and that love you have for yourself, and to just you know do what you want to do. Be yourself, do your thing, be passionate, and just don't worry about what other people think because actually that's their problem.
Yep.
So I think that's a good
Yeah.
one to again let you know that that's one thing that it takes for you to feel good about yourself and be successful in the world is to just don't worry about that stuff. Focus on you. You know you're doing good things, so just continue to do that and share it to the world. And congratulations, to you for everything you're doing.
Man, so see, this brings us back to the conversation we were talking about earlier about being grounded, being grounded with yourself. Because but I don't think you can be grounded with yourself you know, unless you basically test yourself, like
Mhm.
let yourself overcome that fear or whatever it is, or do that hard thing, or keep that consistent gym routine or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, that's 100%. Like, if you're not grounded with yourself, you can be, I don't want to say manipulated, but you can definitely be influenced by
Mhm.
things that, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're good for you, maybe they're not, um but I think at the end of the day, though, it comes down to like, because I actually talked to Sam Mitchell about this. We were talking about people pleasing,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, because his story was like he was like bullied and didn't fit in and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And he felt like he had to people please to fit in with these people. And we were talking, and I was like, well, yeah, but they might trust you, or they might be your friend, quote unquote, just because you're trying to people please them. But like, are you your own friend in that
Right.
situation? Like, they trust you, but do you trust yourself? Because you're kind of going against your own, values or
Mhm.
whatever to basically get validation from somebody else. And I mean, I understand everybody wants companionship and friends and stuff, but you have to ask, man, like you said, you're with yourself 24 hours a day. Like, what kind of friend are you to you? You
Yeah.
know? And I'm not saying like this is definitely not an invitation for somebody to be a jerk to anybody or anything like that. And that's not what it's about. It's just about like knowing who you are and being grounded in that, and I think too, though, once you are like that, I think you'll make more friends naturally anyways. Like, you won't even have to people please, because people just, I don't know. It's like I think people are attracted to that. They respect that, and they respect a person who's like, you know, confident and grounded and strong with themselves.
Yeah, and it's also, man, that brings a lot into that could be a lot of conversations, but that's like you having your respecting and keeping your boundaries and your standards and not breaking those.
Hmm.
And I was for a long time, I was people pleaser nation, so I was doing all of that. And what I learned from that was it took so much, it just mentally and physically drained me to try to satisfy people that honestly probably couldn't care less, but you just wanted to be that person that could solve all these problems and help people. Um, but they wouldn't necessarily do that back for you. So it was kind of like
For sure.
a waste of my time and energy and all that spent on that. And now I know, like you said, you're not trying to be offensive or anything like that to people. It's just that uh, we don't have to go that far to get validation from people. Like you said, just be yourself and love yourself, and people are going to be attracted to that anyway, the right people, because we have options. We can associate with people who may not like us and we still want to people please them, or we can associate with the people who love us and enjoy us, and it's a
Mhm.
vice versa thing. So, yeah, that was a
Yep.
big lesson that I had to learn. And for that, I'm just a much happier person. A lot of stress and tension and so forth is gone, and I'm glad that I made that change, and I just see life totally different, and,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a huge thing to, make sure you're that type of person for yourself.
Well, I've never really seen a person that people pleases that's like really happy.
Mhm,
It's like those people are always stressed out, or they're like pulling in different directions, or they feel like they have to agree with something that somebody says or whatever. And the sad part is, like, a lot of times people in that situation, they get taken advantage of.
mhm,
Like, people take advantage of people in
yeah,
those situations. And I think if somebody's taking advantage of a person in that situation, they're obviously not a good person for you. They're not your friend the way that you think they are. Uh, because like I said, man, people will respect you if you have those boundaries for yourself. Um, I don't know. I think I think back over like my personal journey. I think being able to like people pleasing was something that I never like thankfully I never really had to worry about that.
Hmm.
I've always kind of been the person to go like against the grain
Yeah.
type thing.
Hmm.
But I don't know, man. I like I said, I just wish that people. It just bothers me that people put themselves in that space because I know they do get taken advantage of. Um, so I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, because it's just all about, ever since I became a parent, I was like, it's time to be honest and so forth, because you're now responsible for other people's lives besides your own. And I don't know if Sam mentioned it or not, but you just made me think of a good point. So man, just you talking is just inspiring me to, it's sparking me with other things. So real quickly, in the autism world, a lot of people who are autistic, and it's not to their fault, but they will people please a lot
Mm,
because, and that what actually means in our world too is people pleasing goes hand in hand with masking. So we will mask, um, just going with the grain, because not all people, but a lot of them who don't know a lot about autism will just tell them what to do, tell them what to feel, tell them they need to do things this way, but not understanding that we need support. We see the world differently. We need you to actually accommodate and adjust to us in a world that's not set up for us. So a lot of us will mask and people please and just go with it. But then when you come home, that turns into fatigue, uh, big energy loss, and also it can lead
yep.
to what we call in our world a meltdown, where a meltdown is something that's not our fault, but something triggered us, where we're in a fight and flight situation, and now we're having a meltdown. We're screaming, we're yelling, we're hitting
Mm,
ourselves, we're throwing things, and that's not, that's not what they want to feel. So now it's a different thing. And then the parent has to figure out, how do we help, support, and manage for them to reduce these meltdowns. So that goes to like another subject real quick, is like being an advocate, and talking
mm,
with teachers, getting everyone on the same page with your kid, that this and this can trigger us, yada yada. And here's a lot of things that we like that can be helpful while they're at school. Please make sure we get a sensory break. Please make sure we get this. Please make sure to ask them permission for this. Because not only is that going to make our kid happy and feel comfortable and safe in the world, but it's going to help that teacher build a relationship by knowing that information. So now they can learn things fluidly and be happy at the same time. So now they get to learn stuff. Like, we go back to learning. So now they can learn stuff because someone now cares and they're passionate because they know our story.
yeah, man. I really think that like the world would be a completely different place if every single person understood that every single person has their own unique perspective of the world. Like I don't think any two people see the world the same way because everybody has a different experience,
Hmm.
you know. And I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff, like a lot of the I don't know if it's hate or division or whatever it is, or jealousy or whatever the negative emotions are. I think a lot of this stuff would really disappear if we just realized that like the way you see the world is completely different from the person that you're talking to, and like the same event might mean different things. The same words might mean different. I mean, we have
Yes.
definitions of what
Oh,
words
yeah.
mean, but if you use a word in a certain context at a certain time in a certain place, it might mean something completely different.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know, man. I think there's like, I don't know, like 8 billion people plus on the earth. And
Yep.
there's probably, if you ask every single person, you'll probably get 8 billion plus
Hmm.
stories, of what the world means. Uh, and I think it's just like, I think we should be able to navigate from ourselves in the world, but we should also understand too that people have their own navigation, their own story, their own journey.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know, just because it's weird because we as a society we have laws and we have things that like protect people and the planet and stuff, but it's also too like a lot of this stuff, man, where it's just like it's not a one size fits all. Like a lot of these
Hmm.
things, like if you ask somebody what their mission in life is, you're probably going to get a different answer.
Oh, yeah.
If you ask somebody what their interests are, you might get similar things, but it's like everybody's story is different and everything means something different to somebody. And I think we have to be aware of that because that's really what makes us, it's what makes us different as human beings. but us being different as human beings is what makes us human. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? Like we're all different people. And I don't know, I just wish, because you're talking about like people, you had to put this mask on and go out in public. Well, the reason you have to do that is because some of those people don't realize that like your experience or this person or whoever's experience is different from
Hmm.
theirs, and so they have to, I mean, who are you? Who are these people that you have to fit into what they think, life is or a person is or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I don't know, because like I said, how we are unique and how we are different is what makes us who we are. And
Yeah.
so I don't think that should be, as long as you're not hurting anybody or anything like that, I don't think that should be masked for sure.
Exactly, man. So much good wisdom in there, man. So much. It's a good overload. I love it. And then it made me think of a couple things that it's like, yeah, when everyone is different, everything that you said, and then it's like, if you see something different and and a person doesn't perhaps like what they see, like that's that kind of happens a lot in the autism world, and we have to then start to advocate, and you'll make friends, and then you won't make friends. So it's just kind of how that's just how that
Mhm.
goes out of the control. But my thing is to just I tell people, hey, just make sure now that you've seen that when you're in the world and you see other things that perhaps you don't like what you see or whatever, just take off your ego badge, your pride badge, and just
Mhm.
it's for a reason. Maybe someone needs help that they're doing something different that you're not used to seeing. So rather than be judgmental, observe. And then when you observe, then and you can see that, then go over there and talk to that parent and ask, have a conversation. You're just interested in knowing you know, how their child is doing, and then that's how you can learn their story. And then
Mhm.
you can share your story, and then you can make a friend. So that's been a big key for us in our world is making friends and to sharing information. And and our go off subject for a minute, but I think you might like this. So it's like one time in school, my daughter was in fifth grade, and the teacher called me and said, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Martinez, she's making these sounds with her mouth. It's so annoying, yada, yada, yada. Why is she doing this? Is there anything we can do to make it stop?" And I was composed because I'm already used to this. So I said, can I come over there and show you an activity? And she was like, sure, anything. So I went over there and I took one cotton ball. And I was like, okay, what's happening is we need information into our mouth and jaw because it can soothe us or it can go opposite. Like right now it's going opposite because something in the environment is triggering us to be fight or flight. So I said, all we got to do, put a cotton ball on your hand just like this. And I demonstrated. So I was like, I blow it off my hand as hard as I could. And I was like, you have my daughter blow this cotton ball off your hand. And to make it more fun, you can tell her something like, Belle from Beauty and the Beast needs to blow this cotton ball off the hand to push Gaston, who wants to marry her, but she said no. So the more we blow that cotton ball off, you're going to push him so far that he'll never see her again. So you don't got to worry about that marriage thing. And she's going to be happy because she's helping the character. So in a nutshell, what happened was she did the activity to teach her. And so she had my daughter blow that cotton ball off her hand. I said, when you see her happy and engaging, she's back to herself. Done. So I got a phone call later that day, and she said, hey, Mr. Martinez, I just want to let sorry about earlier." So she apologized, and that's huge. Now we're on the same page with the relationship. And I did the activity with her, and she turned happy after so many times, and she was back to herself. So then she thanked me, and I was like, "Hey, no problem, because years ago I was in your same shoes. I didn't know what to do. I got upset. Now I know what to do, so now it's time to give back." So now she can give back because she just learned something and so forth. So it was just helpful.
That's powerful, man. Yeah. I mean, and it's like I said, just being aware of that person, like a different experience from yours, and now and like that's really, that's powerful. I think it's also powerful too how you use story. I can't get over that. Like you make a story out of it, and I think
Mhm.
that's something else that's really powerful too. You know,
It's
so
it's a life changer, man. I mean, I'll give you one quick one.
Okay.
So like we're at Safeway, the grocery store, and my daughter was starting to have a meltdown. So again, it goes right back to adapt, adjust, right? So I was like, whoa, what can I do? I don't have no gym equipment here. So spontaneously, I just saw a basket and I said shopping cart, and I grabbed two 24 packs of water, put them in the basket, and I just said, okay, let's go push this down all the aisles. So after so many minutes, we started out really overwhelmed, about to have a meltdown, but because we were doing an activity that was a heavy load, so heavy work in our world is when all else fails, do something heavy. So we were pushing this
Mm.
heavy basket, and after so many minutes, she started to feel better and she started to sing songs. And then she wanted me to pull her on the basket so she can jump on and get a free ride. And then we were singing a song together, so that it stopped that incident from happening. I don't know what the trigger was. Could have been noise or whatever in the grocery market. But again, it's like don't judge, help, and the results could have come. And then it can go from eyeballs looking at you to relief and people like, wow, what happened? And you share the story. And then, oh, my granddaughter, for example, it just happens like that. Oh, well, my granddaughter, by the way, okay, now I get it. We have to do this and this for her. Oh, that's what was going on. Okay. So it's just composure, controlling my own emotions, again, within myself, being, knowing how to do that, and then doing that activity, and then story, and then result, and then a lot of times you build a friendship, and now you just pass education to someone, and they can pass that education, and then it's just like a domino effect.
Yeah. I love it, man. We could keep going. I mean,
I
we could keep
know.
talking with this, but I got to close out.
Got some stuff to do, of course.
Yeah, yeah. But man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing this, and like I said, I hope it reaches the right person. I appreciate what you're doing too, because I think fitness is it should be I think it's an important part of all of our lives. I think it's for different reasons, but I think it shows us a lot about ourselves, and I think you're helping people, find that out who really don't have the support that they probably need in that space. So I really appreciate you, doing that, and I appreciate your insight and time here today, for
Thank you
sure.
so much, man. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having your podcast and for all the behind the scenes work that you have to do to make it happen, because you making it happen is you're helping a lot of people out there. So thank you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. If you can hang out for just a second, I want to make sure this thing uploads and all that good stuff, but
Okay.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. That was good.
Yeah, man, really, really good conversation. Hey, listen, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in today. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you found it useful or beneficial, you can subscribe, follow, interact, and see more content at Pure Wisdom Podcast. This is all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google and Apple Podcasts. Again, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.